everyone, my name is Allie and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about my diagnosis story. In April 2023, I got diagnosed with axial spondyloarthritis. It's a very weird word to say, and it took me a while to actually be able to say it confidently. What brought on this diagnosis was back in 2022, I started donating plasma through Lifeblood Australia, and like every time you donate blood, you get the blood tested, so they're sure that it's healthy and they can use it for cancer patients and stuff like that. Yeah, so that was what I was doing every few. I think I was going every 2 weeks when I can, and I stopped going during my wedding and honeymoon part because I was like out of town. And my last donation was in October 2022, and I had another one scheduled for, I think it was November. Yeah, I think I had another one scheduled for November because I like giving blood. It's fun. You get the treats and the snacks, and you get thanked for your donation, and it's really nice. It's like something you can do and you just sit there. Anyways, I received a letter from Lifeblood Australia, I think around early November, and they needed a sign off from my GP to say that I'm still allowed to give blood because apparently their tests found some inflammation. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I have to go to see my GP. I have a regular GP. She's pretty good. So actually it took me a few months before I actually came and booked an appointment with my GP. I was like, oh well, it's fine. And late November, I decided to book in for December. My GP is fairly busy. She has a lot of regulars, so if you want to book an appointment with her, it's either you book in 2 weeks in advance to get the date you want and the time you want, because she gets fully booked out. So she ordered some blood tests, and it showed that yes, I do have a high inflammation marker, CRP, and then she started asking about joint pain and stuff like that, and I'm like, well, I've been having joint pain for most of my life, like in uni, especially when I was really stressed. I used to have really, like, every now and then I had a really bad just pain on my knee or pain on my back or pain on my hip, and I just because it comes and it goes. So I was just like, well, nothing really that I can do about it, and it's not constant. So I just ignored it, didn't get it checked. And yeah, so I told to my GP, and she's like, well, your inflammation markers are high. Everything else is good, but your inflammation markers are high. So I'm gonna get you to do another blood test to test for celiac disease, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and I think that was it. Like, that was the first few things that I got tested for, but they all came back negative. So she ordered another set of blood tests just to test my inflammation and my CRP and ESR, I think it's called. So yeah, so we got that checked again around January when we came back for Christmas, after Christmas, I mean. And my inflammation markers were still high. We tested again after a few. She put me on antibiotics first. So put me on antibiotics. It might be an infection. We just don't know where. Put me on antibiotics. It went well. I was on anti-inflammatories as well. So yeah, I think I was on them for like 2 weeks. And checked in again, and then she ordered another blood test to see if the inflammation is still there. It was still there. like it was on the 20 thing. So yeah, she's like, well, I give up. I don't know what's wrong with you. And I'm like, well, I haven't really noticed any difference in my body. It's just that I'm always tired, and I have been diagnosed with depression a while ago, so I thought it was just my depression. Like, maybe I'm just being depressed again. But she was like, well, I really don't know what's happening with your inflammation. And that took about a couple months, so January, February. I think it was around March when she finally said, well, I don't know what's wrong. We've done all the tests, we've done everything. You need to go to see a rheumatologist. So she wrote me a referral for the rheumatologist. The rheumatology clinic called me back like 3 days later. I think it was 3 days later. It was within a week. And they called me back to set an appointment with my now rheumatologist. And so went in, talked to him, told him about my symptoms, which has been progressively, slowly getting worse throughout the months. I've been having really bad joint pain. Really, not really bad, but like, you know, I can feel the pain, which I don't usually do. And so yeah, I went to see the rheumatologist. We did the, I think it's called the Schober's test, where you have to like bend down and see if your back is still flexible. And we did a physical check of the rheumatologist, like squeezed my elbows, my knees, like just checked every joint basically. And yeah, he says like, well, we don't know what it is. So he sent me off to do another blood test. And I think he also sent me to get my HLA-B27 gene testing. And then an MRI of my lumbar spine and my sacroiliac joints. Like right after the appointment, well, before that, I asked him what could it be. He said it might be 2 things. Might be fibro or that one other thing. And he didn't tell me what the one other thing was. But like it was on my MRI request form that it says like suspected axial spondyloarthritis thing. I was like, okay, I looked it up and read about it and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay. So I got the blood test done like that day, right after the appointment. I got the blood test done. And then scheduled the MRI for the earliest that I can get it. And that's what happened. And then booked an appointment with my GP as soon as I get the text message that my blood tests has been received by my GP. So talked to my GP and she's like, well, your CRP is still really high and you have this gene, the HLA-B27 gene, and I have the symptoms. But she's like, well, I'm not going to step on your rheumatologist's toes, so you just have to wait till you get your next rheumatologist appointment, which at that point was booked for April 24th of 2023. Yep, I remember clearly because I was like, how can you forget when you get diagnosed for something that could change your life forever? Anyways, so she booked me, I think she wrote me a referral for a physio. So I went to the physio, tried, he gave me some exercises to do to help with my mobility with my lower back and my hips and just stuff like that. And my I think it was the week after my MRI results came back, and he says like my spine looked good, no inflammation, no ankylosis, no evidence of inflammatory arthritis. So I was like, oh, so I don't have arthritis. I don't have AS or axial spondyloarthritis. I was like, okay, I might have fibromyalgia then, because that's the other thing that the rheumatologist told us. And by that point, I still had like 3-4 weeks to go until my next rheumatologist appointment. So that's that. It was a very nerve-wracking wait because I'm like, well, I really just want to know what's wrong with me. I don't necessarily feel the pain as much. It's just that something's wrong with my body that's making me feel really tired, and it's not nice. Not when you're working and you're trying to do life stuff. So on the day of my rheumatologist appointment, I just did not know what to expect. So my husband came with me, he always does. We went into the clinic, saw my rheumatologist, and he was like, well, we can't see anything in your MRI. Your CRP is still really high. You have the HLA-B27 gene. I think you have spondyloarthritis. He was quiet for a bit because I was like, well, my physio told me I don't have spondyloarthritis, so I was fully expecting him to diagnose me with fibromyalgia. And so he showed me this diagram that he used. I found it again online later on, but it was in a like medical journal thing that you have to log on and do stuff. And that's why I'm like, okay, so my doctor's using this as probably a good resource. I looked it up and he showed me the diagram on that day as well, and it's like, well, you have HLA-B27 gene, so you only need 2 other spondyloarthritis features, which you have because you have a good response to NSAIDs, which is non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. You have an elevated CRP, and I have inflammatory back pain, something like that. And yeah, I was dumbfounded. Let's just say me and my husband were both dumbfounded because we weren't expecting that diagnosis. Because we already thought, well, it's not bad because there was like no inflammatory arthritis on my MRI. So I'm like, okay, so what does this mean? And it's like, the doctor's like, well, do you have any questions? And I just could not think. I was just in shock. And then he asked like, what other, like, I think I asked, or he brought up what other medications I can be on. But since I have also gastroesophageal acid reflux disease, I can't be on NSAIDs for a long time. So we talked about it, and he was like, well, I can't put you on anything else at the moment because you don't have the, what do you call it? You don't have the joint degeneration or damage. I think he used the word damage, and you don't have the joint damage that shows in your scans. And yeah, you're not going to get it in Medicare. It's not covered by Medicare. It's going to be so expensive, so I can't put you on that yet. And my husband's like, well, she's seeing a gastroenterologist soon, so might as well ask her about it and then ask for what else I can be on. So that was the end of the appointment, and still asked her, hey, do you have any questions? And I was just still in shock. So I really didn't have anything. I was just blanked out. So I went out to the reception and it's like, well, I'm gonna see you in 3 months for a follow-up and see how you're going. And I'm like, okay. I just honestly went out of the room, went to the receptionist, paid for my visit, and I did not know what to do afterwards. It was I felt really scared, though it's not that bad because we caught it really early. So with physio and the NSAIDs, I'll be able to keep my flexibility and my mobility, hopefully. And yeah, just have to deal with the flares when they happen. But that was really life-changing because one moment I was a healthy lady, and the next moment I was kind of like, well, you have axial spondyloarthritis, you will be in pain most of your life, and either that or you'll be really tired, and it's just, I don't know, it's a bit of a shock. But yeah, that's my diagnosis story with axial spondyloarthritis. Not a lot of people knows what axial spondyloarthritis is. Like when I told my friends, they were like, "Oh, what's that? I haven't heard of that." And yeah, I had to explain that it's arthritis of the back, it's different from RA, it's blah 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 blah. But I actually printed out an infographic and just sent it to people. That's the easiest way that I could think of to, raise awareness as well. And I've been trying to find support groups around my area, but there has been none, unfortunately. Or they'll be like old ladies, and I'm like, well, I don't really want to intrude. I'll be the youngest person there, so I'm kind of like, well, And my husband found me a Reddit subreddit. It's called Arthritis, and they have a Discord chat, and I joined the Discord chat, and they're lovely people. So yeah, that was my diagnosis story. And if you have any problems with your back, if you're having joint pain, you're having weird stuff, get it checked out, because the earlier you get it checked out, the better outcome for you in the long run.